Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of Kansas. World of Darkness. Shit! Fuck, I had a flow and everything! God
Welcome,
damn
ladies
it!
and gentlemen, to another episode of Kansas by Night, the online World of Darkness game set in it, you guessed it, the city of Kansas. Evan, you may continue in 3, 2, 1, and don't fuck up this time.
Thank you. The scene will take place in the Fairweather Manor, it's Fairwinter Manor, my apologies. That is currently located, I believe it's outside of Topeka. I will have to clarify where it is. As Kieran Winger wakes up on his first night in the manor house, in a 4-poster bed. It's really fancy.
Yeah, he's definitely not used to all the fanciness and whatnot, given his background. So he's still not entirely sure that it's real, to be honest. Then he remembers, oh wait, if it's a dream, then it is real to me. And he just kind of hops on out of bed.
There will be a very slight tapping on the door.
He'll go over and answer the door.
Elizabeth is standing there. She's dressed for the day. You look. By the way, as you walk, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning or so. She'll say, "I thought it best to let you sleep in, sir." She's pushing a trolley in front of her, on which there is breakfast. You requested the fried breakfast.
Yeah, thank you.
The master wishes to inform you that when you have had breakfast and have dressed for the day, he will be waiting for you downstairs in the library.
Right, thank you again.
She will give a polite half bow and then proceed to walk down the corridor.
Kieran will devour his breakfast and then get dressed, put on his sash because he can now.
That's that. By the way, I will point out, the sash is made of incredibly expensive red silk with gold embroidery.
Oh, man.
Ooh. Because apparently it says, based on who your boss is, they can give you more expensive sashes to show their wealth and ostentation.
All right, and we'll go to meet Traori.
Okay. Traori is sitting in the library behind his desk. He's currently working from an incredibly large book that's seated on his lap as he's making notes on a piece of parchment in front of him that's connected to the large map. And he says, good morning, Kieran. I hope you slept well.
Yes, sir. It was much more comfortable than I'm used to.
Good. I believe you met him briefly, but allow me to introduce the head of my household, Mr. Henry Ironright.
The Boggin will walk out from basically behind the table. The table is higher than he is. Hello. What do you want? Oh yes, you're the one who was sitting on the bed. Do I have to clean up bones from the bed, or do I send Elizabeth?
No, there's no bones in there. Don't worry.
Now, be nice, Mr. Ironright. Don't go stereotyping.
It's not a stereotype. They're hungry.
True. But yes, Mr. Ironright has been the head of my house for frankly longer than I care to remember. This is Mr. Kieran Winger, my new squire.
Kieran will extend a hand and say, "Pleasure to meet you."
We shall see on that score. And he actually gets out a very small Boggin-sized magnifying lens and starts examining your fingernails.
They're a little dirty.
Hands you what is basically a set of nail clippers with a small cleaning implement attached to them.
He'll look at them and kind of shrug and start clipping and cleaning his nails into a trash can.
You will find that in this service, your appearance will reflect upon your master.
How is Kieran dressed, other than the sash, obviously?
I mean, he doesn't have clothes for he doesn't have money for super fancy clothes, but it's at least like a decent button-up and a pair of slacks.
Okay.
Like, they're kind of cheap, but It's not like he just rolled out of bed in a wrinkled T-shirt and a pair of jeans or something.
Fair. Triori, without looking up from his book, will say, Mr. Ironwright, you will please fashion for my guest here clothing, at least one set of clothing suitable for court.
Very well. I shall have to, of course, send you the bill, sir.
Naturally.
Very well.
But yes,
He actually will take out a tape measure and start measuring Kieran right there.
one has to love
Sure.
Boggan's practicality.
Karen will pause the clipping of his fingernails to let Henry get accurate.
Well, when you stop, he will smack you on the hand and go, "Keep going, I can work."
He's just gonna look down at Henry, then look up at Traore, and then look back down at Henry, and then continue on, I guess.
Triori hasn't taken his nose out of the book. But the measuring will go on. I mean, I've been measured for suits. It'll take about 10 minutes or so. But then Triori will look up and he'll say, and also perhaps a suit of armor that would be suitably sized.
That will require a little extra work, but it is at least theoretically doable.
We're currently in the process of building the forge you requested. Out of character, we're just waiting for Sean to give us the actual dross costs for various different things.
Yeah.
But we're currently in the process of building the forge in inverted commas.
Very well. Once the forge is built and we've acquired sufficient material, I should be able to make a start. I assume you want it in primarily silver. Possibly with
Well,
steel
that raises the question. Actually, that's why both of you are here. With that, Triori, kind of to make a point, snaps the book closed with a snapping noise and lays it on the table. I've made you my squire, but I've never asked if you wish to join our house.
Your House of Leonard, right?
Correct.
He'll think for a second. Say, I'm not really sure, honestly.
That is an honest answer.
Well, yes, that's why I said honestly.
You'd be amazed how many people say that and then lie through their teeth at you. Humans mostly, but you find it among our kind too.
Many people value secrets. House Ilunid most of all. So to get an honest answer from the House of Secrets is sometimes problematic.
Depends on what the question is.
For
example, do you have a secret?
Do I have a what, sir?
If you ask the House of Secrets, do you have a secret?
Absolutely not. We are nothing but honest, upright, and forthright members of the community.
Then please, what is your bank number?
Triori will very calmly walk up to a book in the shelf. If you actually look at the book, it's something very, very odd, like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, or Moby Dick. And he'll motion for the book and he'll pull it out. At which point you'll hear a clicking noise, kind of a click, and the bookcase will swing open. I have a suggestion for you, Mr. Winger.
Yes, sir.
We're going to see how to phrase. There are 3 tests that House Ilunid provide to see if you are... What is the correct phrasing? Worthy is not right, but to see if you are a correct fit. Before you make your answer, let us see if you may pass the test.
He'll nod, still clipping his fingernails.
You can stop that now.
Well, they should be
Look at
clean
Henry
by now.
Yeah.
He will actually pass you a nail file and basically a piece of cotton fabric with what's clearly beeswax in it. You should quite literally polish and grind your own nails.
He will begin doing so.
Oh, very well. We'll wait until you've done your morning ablutions. He will say, leaning against the door. It's not like it's not like we're on any kind of grand magical clock or anything. No.
No, we still haven't got the other one back.
Oh, we have, by the way. The Fisky returned the clock.
I told you she had it.
Obviously. When something goes... the first lesson you must learn, Squire. When something goes missing from your house and you've just had a Fisky round for tea, 9 times out of 10, it's the Fisky.
Even if they keep insisting it's not them.
There we go.
But you can always be prepared to apologize that one time in 10.
We'll finish with the polishing and the filing and look at Henry and ask, what should I do with these?
He'll actually hold out a small box about the size of his hand.
He will set them in the box.
Box goes in pocket, gestures for you to follow.
He'll start following.
Okay. As you step through the hole in the library wall, you feel as though you fall for maybe about 5-10 feet, and you land kind of dunk on the ground. It doesn't hurt, and you're standing in an area lit by torchlight. It's a roughly circular room. Triori and Henry are standing beside you. The room itself is lit by torches, and in front of you there is a door made of what looks to be sandstone or some kind of very yellowed stone, upon which there is a sword facing downwards and 2 gauntleted hands grasping the sword. And Triori will say, "This is your first test. It's quite simple. Well, it's tricky, but once you grasp it, it's perfectly simple. In each test, you may ask us a single question, and we will answer it. Does that seem reasonable?"
He'll nod.
Very good. Triori will say a word. It sounds like Sadasya, and it kind of echoes throughout the room, and the door will grind open. As we walk in, the torches again will flare up into existence. Sitting in the middle of the room, there is something that's hunched over. It's basically got it almost looks cylindrical, but you get the rough outline of limbs. And as we walk in, there's a noise as the hands extend, and you see little tiny jets of steam start to rise from it as it starts to unfurl, unlimber, and you hear the sound of mechanical pieces grind against each other as it stands up to being about 12 foot tall or so. It looks around you at you with very, very mechanical clockwork eyes that blink, 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 blink. It's roughly... Have you ever seen Hellboy 2?
Yes.
It's not unlike one of the Hellboy 2 Golden Army soldiers.
Gotcha.
And Triori will say, "The test is simple." He'll point down at the floor. "You must simply get the golem to leave the circle."
Okay. How big is the circle?
The circle itself is roughly about 50-foot circular diameter, so it's pretty big. It's standing near the center. And Triori will smile and say, as you walk into the circle, "Oh, and you can't use magic."
Okay. He's going to walk into the circle, look up at the golem, kind of wave a hand at it.
You can see its head follows your hand.
He'll turn around to the others. It's way too easy to just ask it to leave, isn't it?
You see Triori shrug.
That was my question, by the way.
It would be incredibly easy to ask it to leave, yes.
He'll turn back around. Look up at the golem. Would you mind leaving the circle?
As it walks out of the circle. He smiles and says, you know, I've honestly seen initiates be at this for like 10 hours and not get that.
It just... The obvious solution was to move it, but it looked really heavy, so why would I do that?
We need to stop using cliches.
We're House Illumined. We're made on cliches.
Yes, but people are going to start guessing the answers too easily. We live in the mass media age now.
Shush.
If I ever meet Gutenberg's ghost, I'm going to beat him to death. Again. Him and that bloody printing press. Ruined everything.
You beat Gutenberg to death?
For legal reasons, I cannot confirm nor deny this statement.
There's kind of a very kind of... He looks at Henry like really sideways, just like, okay.
Learning all sorts of things tonight.
But the next door is directly behind where the golem is now standing, as we kind of mooch around him. As we do step around him, he walks back into the center of the circle and folds himself down again. The next door has a chalice held over it in two hands, and Trower will once again speak a word. It sounds like Meldrava, and the door will. Because I can't do a grinding noise, I can do a creaking noise. Open. As you walk into it, this room itself is much more... How to explain? It's much more... it's almost like a dark miasma that just that swirls around the room, as if you're walking into thick smoke, but you can still breathe quite happily. And the door will close behind you. And Triori will say, this test is a little more complicated. You can't see him, by the way. I will point out that their voices are lost in the swirling miasma, but you can still hear them.
Okay.
You must simply bring light to the darkness.
Any special rules?
Once again, you cannot use any magic.
Laughing. Said it was miasma footing, right?
I beg your pardon?
It's like a dark miasma.
It's like smoke. Yeah.
Let's see. Kieran is just going to pull out a lighter and test it and see if it works.
You flick the lighter and the flame emerges, but then the miasma immediately comes in and smothers it.
Gotcha.
Remember, you can ask a question of us.
Yeah. This one's a lot more esoteric, like.
Yes, this is a lot more esoteric.
I'm just trying to think of like what question would be what he would ask.
You hear a voice drift across the nothing. If it helps, Mr. Ironright was in here for half a decade.
You will actually hear a kicked wall.
Just the sound of a kicked wall reverberates.
Yeah. And
Kieran's gonna
swearing.
Kieran's
Sorry,
gonna take a second. Kieran's gonna take a second and kind of swirl his hand through the miasma. Like, is there resistance to his hand, or is he just kind of flowing freely through it?
You're just, it's like smoke. It billows around your hand. There's nothing physically there.
Okay, got you. I'm assuming if he starts increasing, like if he starts waving his hand, it's not going to go away.
No, as I said, it's like standing in smoke. So more smoke will come to take its place as you move your hand through it.
Got you. Got you. He will ask, is there anything that can clear the smoke of the miasma?
You hear the voice come back to you from across the nothingness, and it says, "What banishes ignorance?"
Knowledge? Or teaching.
You hear from the miasma again. You're on the right track.
Wisdom?
When you say wisdom, you almost feel you feel the kind of smoke like uckiness, as I'm now going to put it. It kind of shudders.
So I'm on the right track. I'm closer to the right track with that. I'm assuming.
Do you have any enigmas?
Yes, I have two. You can roll some.
This would be an excellent time for an enigmas roll.
Standard diff.
Standard diff.
2 successes.
2 successes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if ignorance is banished by wisdom, then maybe you should say something wise.
And of course, I'll think for a second. This gonna sound really cheesy. He'll kind of crumble to himself. No matter how much I learn, no matter how wise I become, there's always going to be a little bit of this stuff flowing through the air. I would kind of like bat at the miasma.
As you bat at the miasma, your hand is suddenly engulfed in a bluish flame that spreads all the way down your arm to your shoulder blade and stops. However, it's driving off the miasma. But you sense as though you may need to say or do something else.
Okay. But that doesn't mean I should stop learning or anything. This means I'll have to learn more and more to keep as much of this at bay as I can.
Your other hand erupts into flame and it travels down your arm. And the two of them conjoin at your heart, at which point there is a wave of blue flame that just explodes out from you. And the miasma completely disappears, and you see Triori and Henry have started playing a game of cards in the corner. They're literally playing Go Fish, at which point they look up and went, "Oh, I thought that would take you longer," as he throws his cards down. And also, I didn't have any sevens. Sorry, Henry.
Next time we're playing whist.
Okay.
Modern people not even knowing how to play a good rubber of whist anymore.
The next door, as opposed to having a cup or as opposed to having a sword, you see a masked face or a hooded head there. And at this point, how to explain? At this point, Troy will lean against the lintel post, and he'll say, "Now then, the question I have to ask is, do you want to go through this door?"
That depends entirely on what's behind it.
He blinks, and you can see he's trying to verbalize, and he says, "I could do something incredibly cliche and say only what you bring with you. But in all reality, how to explain? The lightning of your soul."
Allow me to put it another way, Mr. Winger. Are you familiar with the Egyptian story of death? When a man dies, he goes before the gods. He carries with him his heart, which is measured against the feather that bears the weight of his sins. The heart carries all the virtues and good things in his life. Inside this chamber, you will find the weight of your sins, measured against the weight of your virtue, which you have already seen within your own heart. You should only enter this chamber if you think the light created by those virtues is sufficient to outweigh whatever sins your feather bears.
Or that your potential for your feather to outweigh your heart, or for your heart to outweigh your feather in your future is greater. And there will always be a price asked.
No blink for a couple of times. Or a couple times. Yeah. Let's do it.
We cannot go in there with you. We will be waiting here when you return.
For your sins are your own.
Traore, he doesn't say a word this time. He taps the door 3 times with a single finger. And the door swings open.
Kieran will walk through.
The door grinds closed behind you. Kieran, you now stand in what can only be described as a court chamber, in the sense that there's a high-backed seat and a plinth, and a table in front of the plinth upon which rests a large ceremonial hammer. And there is a very shadowy figure seated in the chair behind the gavel, and he says, "Ah, Mr. Winger, a pleasure to meet you."
Likewise, Mr. Ominous Figure.
I believe his name is Mr. the Lancer.
But he will look at you with very cold eyes that burn from under the hood, and he will say, "So, I will ask you 3 questions. I would like honest answers."
He'll nod.
What is your happiest memory?
When my mentor found me and got me out of that place, out of the Corby.
A green ball of fire is hanging in midair on the table, above the table, right? And he will say, "And what is your greatest sin?"
He'll actually take a moment to think about that. There was this girl that was clearly not doing too well herself, and she had a sick family and everything. And I got told to go do what I could, get the money for a little ringleader, and I did. Broke into her house in the middle of the night. Grabbed it. Ran.
A purple fire appears on the desk, hovering above it. And he will say, "Very well then. I see. And what is your greatest aspiration?"
To do my mentor proud, to live up to his legacy. However I can.
You see, finally, coalescing in front of you, a golden scales, a balancing scales, that itself comes into being. It appears to have the green and the purple fire in its weighing scales. And for a moment, it looks as though the purple fire is going to outweigh the green fire. It's tipping that way, and then they come into balance. And he says, "I see. You bear a heart that is heavy with remorse. Evil cannot exist where there is the will to see it righten. There is a good story. Now your price, Mr. Winger, for you have been found and proven worthy. Tell me now, what is your greatest secret?"
Greatest what?
Out of character. What is your greatest secret?
Oh.
Out of character. Tiger, you don't actually have to tell us this because our characters will never know.
Okay.
You just have to say if you tell the figure or not.
He will tell the figure.
In that case, the figure will move his hands together and a small charm will appear and he'll dangle it out in front of you.
He won't. Actually, I need to roll something real quick.
Doing that rolling.
Look up something. Sorry, guys.
Take your time. What are you rolling?
Resisting curiosity, whether he just fucking grabs it or if he asks what it is first.
Ooh, curiosity.
Right. Willpower. This is weird magic bullshit, but it's also just a charm and stuff. Call it Diff 7. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Alright. Okay, 5 successes, so he will actually take a moment and look at the figure. He'll ask the figure, "What is this?"
As you look at it, you see that it is basically a small piece of black stone upon which there is a silver crescent and a star. And he says, "You have passed the trials. You are accepted. It is for you to decide if you choose to don this or no."
He'll hesitate for a second, but then he'll grab it.
Welcome.
Is it like a necklace kind of thing?
It's a necklace, yeah.
He'll slide it around his neck.
He will say, "Welcome home." And then everything in this room shatters. It's as if it turns to bright multicolored light, and you find yourself physically, I'm not going to say heaved, you stay on your feet, but almost as if you're scooped up and deposited outside the door where Triori and Henry are currently playing cards again. "Ha! That's Jin!" he says as he puts it down.
Damn it! Not a... Ah!
Ah, you're back, Mr. Winger.
You're cheating. Oh, look, he's back.
And in one piece.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You actually see Henry slide across what is visibly a single penny.
Priori pockets the penny. It's like their ceremony. When we say it's a penny, it's literally like a British, a 13th
It's like an 1840 large penny.
Yeah, that he pockets, and he says, "So, I can see by your new ornamentation that you've decided to join us."
Yeah, it seemed right, we'll say.
He smiles and says, "In that case, may I be the first to welcome Kieran Winger ap Illuda."
He will just kind of he'll get a warm smile on his face at that.
Priori will walk up and put his arm around his shoulder. How tall is Kieran?
He's pretty tall. Like, he's not huge size tall, but he's probably like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, the Priori is slightly shorter than you, but he'll wrap his arm around you and he'll say, "Now then, we'd best return before we miss dinner, or before we miss lunch. Miss Elizabeth is rather prickly about those sorts of things."
Sounds good.
But and with that, I think we shall call it there, boys and girls. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Have a good evening.